What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with the latest on your third stimulus check update. In this video, we're going to go to the White House floor to hear directly from the White House on what is going on with the third stimulus check package, how soon to expect it, how much it'll be, and then I have some news, some additional news from President Joe Biden himself. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new updates on the third stimulus check package and other buckets of money that you can get from these stimulus packages, such as mortgage and rental assistance, possible student loan forgiveness, possible Social Security raises of $200 per month, as well as everything that comes along, such as the $3,600 child tax credit stimulus payments that is expected to be in the third stimulus check proposal. And if you can, give us a like down below. It really helps out our channel. All right, we're going to go directly to the White House to hear directly from White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki on the third stimulus check package. Also, make sure to stay to the end where we're going to discuss the $3,000 to $3,600 stimulus checks and who could get those in the third stimulus check package.
Today, President Biden joined the House Democratic Caucus meeting by phone to discuss the American Rescue Plan. The president made clear that the American Rescue Plan was designed to meet the stakes of the public health and economic crisis, and the President Caucus agreed that a final package must address the crises facing working families, including housing and food insecurity, and reopening schools. President Biden said the cost of inaction and doing too little is greater than the cost of doing too much. The president also had the opportunity to meet in the Oval Office just a few minutes ago with Leader Schumer and the Democratic chairs of the Senate committees with jurisdiction over the American Rescue Plan as part of his ongoing engagement with lawmakers from both sides of the aisle. During the meeting, they had a productive conversation on the status of legislative proceedings on the package. They were in agreement over the need to move swiftly to ensure that we get $1,400 direct payments to middle and working class Americans as quickly as possible, that we need to take steps to get immediate relief to the Americans who are struggling with food insecurity or facing eviction, and that we need to provide more resources to get shots into arms faster. The president and the senators were also in agreement over the need to go big and to meet the challenges we face with a response that will get the job done in beating this virus and in protecting our economy from long-term damage. During the conversation, the president and Democratic leaders also agreed to continue working to find areas of bipartisan agreement in an effort to integrate ideas and make the process as bipartisan as possible. There have been lots of questions from some of you and others about the differences between the president's plan, the Democratic plan, and the plan that has been proposed by 10 Republican senators. So I wanted to outline some of those specifics here for you. The president's plan would fulfill his pledge to finish getting $2,000 checks to hard-hit Americans and ensure that, for example, a kindergarten teacher making $60,000 a year isn't left without additional support. Their plan wouldn't provide that teacher with direct relief. The president's plan would give Americans who are out of work through no fault of their own a $400 weekly supplement and the certainty that it would last through the worst of the pandemic. Their plan would give unemployed Americans less money and therefore less certainty. The president's plan would keep hundreds of thousands of teachers, cops, firefighters, paramedics, and other public servants on the job. Their plan offers no money to state and local governments to keep people on the front lines of this fight employed. The president's plan would also assist the millions of families who are behind on their rent and facing potential eviction. Their plan wouldn't offer any support to these families. The president's plan would provide targeted, immediate relief to families with children and essential workers through an emergency expansion of the child tax credit and the EITC. Their plan would deny relief to 15 million lower-income essential workers. The president's plan together would reduce the number of kids living in poverty by 5 million this year and cut child poverty in half. Their plan would likely leave millions of additional kids out. Just as importantly, the president's plan would make sure we have every resource we need to defeat this virus and get life back to normal, including $130 billion to help ensure our kids can go back to school safely, $20 billion to mount a nationwide vaccination campaign, $50 billion for more and better testing and critical funding to improve our ability to track and defeat emerging COVID-19 strains. I know that was a lot, but it's a lot of interest in this issue. Go ahead, Josh.
Thanks so much, Jen. Two questions. President Biden told House Democrats today that he considered the $1,400 direct payment a promise that he can't break. At the same time, a new analysis from the Penn Wharton budget model suggests that 73% of those payments would go into savings instead of be spent in ways that could boost growth. I'm wondering, what's more important, to keep the promise or to ensure that the package does all it can to maximize growth?
Well, first, on the Penn Warren analysis, we've seen that analysis, and I've talked to our economic team about it, and frankly, we feel it's way out of step with the majority of studies on this plan, including independent analysis from the Wall Street firm Moody's, JP Morgan Chase, and the Brookings Institution. And the analysis concludes that our economy is near capacity, which would be news to the millions of Americans who are out of work or facing reduced hours and reduced paychecks.
Yeah, see, that's the weird thing. You always get these, these studies, and you always find one study that finds some weird information. And it's like, oh, we got to go with that one. 73% of people are going to put the check into savings and not spend it. Come on. We all we all know that that's not real news, but you know, you know, you know how studies go, right?
So this starting place means their model is way off. So our view is we're going to listen to governors, we're going to listen to a broad range of economists, we're going to listen to health experts on what is needed, what the American people need at this point in time. And when 1 in 7 American families don't have enough food to eat, it's clear that there is a great deal of need for assistance.
The Republican plan matches you guys up on the national vaccine top line and also the testing top line, but you ticked through some pretty significant differences between the two proposals. And I know we ask this seemingly daily at this point, but where is
it's your job.
where is the space for bipartisan agreement when the differences are that significant across major components of what the president wants?
Well, an area where there's agreement to work together on is funding for small business. And that's something, of course, Democrats and Republicans want to do. Our view is that this bill itself is bipartisan. 74% of the public support it, Republicans and Democrats, independents across the country. And there is agreement that it's important to work with many Republicans and Democrats who fall on different parts of the political spectrum to put their ideas forward and consider them. And that's part of the conversation and part of the process now happening on the Hill. We will see. What proposals that improve the bill, that make it better, and there's certainly an openness to that.
Just a quick note on that. President Biden came out, it was either today or last night, that he is willing to potentially compromise on the stimulus checks when it comes to the income limits. And this is pretty much basically what I have been telling you. The president now basically came out and said it. It's funny how I kind of know things before they come out and say it sometimes, just because we hear it so many different times in different ways. And I always have my finger on the pulse of basically what I think is going to happen. And honestly, I'm not too far off very often. As you can see here, President Joe Biden said he's open to refining key elements of his nearly $2 trillion stimulus package during a call with House Democrats on Wednesday, but stressed the urgency of delivering the massive relief bill quickly to the pandemic-stricken nation. President Biden told the House Democratic caucus that he's willing to compromise on who will be eligible for the next rounds of stimulus checks, but remained firm on the size of the $14 stimulus checks, according to multiple sources on the call. He says, quote, "Let's stick together. I have your back and I hope you'll have mine. I am not going to start by breaking a promise to the American people about these stimulus checks." He says, quote, "We can better target the number. I'm okay with that." So basically what I'm thinking, again, we don't have exact numbers here. So again, this is what I'm thinking. And I'm most of the time, I'm not very far off, if not exactly right on. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know that most of the time, just because I follow this stuff every day, I'm doing hours of research, listening to interviews, hearing everybody talk, hearing Joe Manchin talk, hearing Mitch McConnell talk. I mean, I'm listening to all of them. So I'm pretty close to what normally happens. What I think they're going to do is I think that the Democrats are going to have very similar income limits as the first and second stimulus check. But because the checks are larger this time, they're $1,400 for adults, $1,400 for children, which is more than double than the children have gotten before. and adult dependents are expected to get at least $1,400, if not $2,000 or more, to get the first and second stimulus check. As you know, if you've been following this channel, there's some people that are upset that less than 1% of the money will go to the quote rich. So the example is a family making $300,000 would still get a check, because if they had 4 or 5 children, those 4 or 5 children are all going to get $1,400 each, and anything over $150,000 for a couple gets phased down. That's the phase down part, $75,000 per person. It goes down by $50 per thousand. Okay. Well, the problem is, because the checks are so large this time, they're $1,400 and $1,400 for children. If you got 4 or 5 kids in there, you're looking at like a $7,000 or $8,000, $9,000 check. And because that check is so much larger, because the child check is literally more than double than it's been before, somebody I should say a couple making over $300,000 could get a reduced check of maybe a couple $100s there. So the first stimulus check, basically it phased out at $99,000 because of the amounts of the check. The second stimulus check phased out at $87,000, and again started at 75 and phased down, but it phased out at 87,000 because of the size of the check. So I personally think they're going to probably have the phase out be either at 75 or 99,000, because that's what we've had in the past, and it's just going to stop there completely. So after 75,000 for an individual, or double that for a couple, $150,000, or the 99,000 for a single, and double that for a couple, 198, would just get nothing. So after that point, it's going to be probably a hard cutoff. That's what I'm expecting if they change it at all. Hope that makes sense.
Several Republican senators have said publicly that they believe the president is in a different place than his staff on this issue in particular, and he is more willing to deal perhaps than his staff. Is there daylight between the president and his staff on the $1.9 trillion proposal?
Absolutely not. I've seen some of those reports. Many of them are ludicrous. I've sat in a lot of meetings with the president of the United States in the last few weeks, and even before then, there is no one who's going to tell him what to do or hold him back from his commitment to delivering relief to the American people. And I would point you to the fact that he talked about the importance of going big on a package back to the campaign. He talked about the importance of meeting this moment back to the campaign. So that is certainly his commitment, and that's exactly what he's working to deliver on.
And just one quick one on vaccines, circling back to something you guys talked about last week, I believe, Defense Production Act. I know you've said all options are on the table, you guys are working through, and that it has been launched in at least a couple of areas. On vaccine supply, is the Defense Production Act being utilized on that front? And if not, is there a timeline? Is that something that remains on the table right now to bolster, I think, one of the issues that you guys have identified as being the biggest problem right now?
Absolutely, it's on the table. And, the reason the president invoked the Defense Production Act was because he wanted to have a range of options for any moment where there was a reduction in supply on materials, on PPE, on syringes, and at the appropriate time, we can certainly use it for that. But right now, our focus is on working with Pfizer and Moderna. We have confidence in their ability to produce the number of vaccines that the government has ordered on the timeline that we have committed to. And that means that we would have enough vaccines here to be able to vaccinate every American by the summer. So our focus is really more on evaluating where there are needs for supplies and materials that would help deliver the vaccines into the arms of Americans. Go ahead, Ed.
Jen, you saw the president say earlier he's still confident he can get some Republican support. Mitt Romney was asked about that a little while ago, and he said, well, if they're not going to budge off the $1.9 trillion number, it's not going to happen. He was then asked, well, can you give us a specific example of something that demonstrates the differences? You didn't mention it. He says the $360 billion or so for states and localities. Is that something that is considered negotiable by the White House?
Well, I'd be interested, because I didn't see, so now I guess I'm asking you a question, what Senator Romney said about whether they would propose any funding for state and local.
He said that the most recent reports show that the average state in America only lost about 1/10 to 1% of the revenue, so it should perhaps be adjusted.
Well, they are not proposing any. So I would suggest, given that they also supported 160 or 180 billion in a package that move forward under the Trump administration, that's a place where we would certainly welcome an offer from their end on what state and local funding they'd support.
One other on economic relief related to the pandemic. There was a full-page ad in the New York Times last week, put there by several prominent women, calling on the Biden administration to implement what they call a Marshall Plan for moms in the first 100 days. Has the president seen the ad, and would he support the idea of monthly payments to mothers who are saddled by this pandemic?
Well, as a mom myself, I can confirm for you that the conversation I have most frequently with friends on Zoom calls is about the impact of the pandemic on working moms across the country. And what the president has certainly concerned about, as we all are, is the fact that this has a disproportionate impact on communities of color, on women of color who are working, many of them working on jobs as frontline workers and playing vital roles in industries across the country. And it's certainly an issue that Secretary Yellen, his economic team are focused on and will be looking for ways to help appease.
So basically, she's saying that President Biden is going to be going forward with at least the $1,400 stimulus checks. We just heard there from that last reporter that there was a full-page ad taken out, I think they said in the New York Times, for mothers calling for monthly stimulus checks. We're getting more and more calls for monthly stimulus checks until the pandemic is over. Now, remember, there is expected to be an increase of the child tax credit in the third stimulus check package. And the way this will work is it actually is a transfer, it's increasing it and turning it into a monthly stimulus check. So $3,000 per child per year for the child tax credit. This is an increase from $2,000. And instead of having to wait all the way until next year to get a credit on your taxes, they're actually proposing increasing it by 50% or more from $2,000 to $3,000 and giving it to you monthly as opposed to having to wait. I believe there was also a choice that you could get it all in a one lump sum on your taxes. But again, you have to wait for that till the next tax season. So basically, $3,000 per child would be $250 per month per child over the age of 6. And for children under the age of 6, 1 through 5, would actually get $3,600, which is $300 per month. So this was in the outline, I believe, for the third stimulus check package. So it'll be interesting to see if this makes it in there. And again, this is per child. So imagine getting a monthly stimulus check of $250 to $300 per child, basically direct deposited into your account, as opposed to getting a tax credit on your taxes way at the end of the year. And they're increasing this by 50 to 75% too. So it's more money in your pocket either way. I will keep you updated. I will have an 11 p.m. video Eastern time tonight, which is 8 p.m. West Coast time. Don't forget, I have those videos coming out every night now. You won't get a notification if you've subscribed down below with the bell icon on. You only get the notifications for the 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. videos each day. So there will be an 11 p.m. Maybe I'll do a question and answer with the most frequently asked questions for you guys to kind of clear up as much as I can for you guys at the 11 p.m. video tonight. So I will see you there, guys. You can click this top video to watch my newest stimulus check video. And this video teaches you how to start your own business selling products on Amazon FBA. I've had dozens of students replace their 9-to-5 jobs selling products on Amazon, and I teach them how to do that. Click on one of those videos to watch them next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.